Wow, man, the reality of 5G, man, it's not, it's more than scary. It's it's disgusting. The ignorance of people. Now listen. Wow, David Icke just put a very good point to the whole thing that I did not really think of. It didn't really cross my mind. Now listen. Okay, we know the effects of 5G. It's depriving people of oxygen. Now listen. Experiments have been done. Okay, there's a pastor that I watched a long time. He was in prison for 10 years. I even went and stayed at his little camp for a few days, and then I left. But he talked about in one of his videos hyperbaric chambers, and what they are is like enclosed areas or an enclosed capsule, kind of like a tanning bed, or like those capsules you see in the movies where people or babies or whatever are in them. But basically it's just like an enclosed area that's pumped full of pure oxygen, or higher levels of oxygen than we are accustomed to breathing. And what it does is it energizes people. It makes them stronger. It makes them have more endurance. If you grow plants like tomato plants in a hyperbaric chamber, they will grow to be like 20 feet tall. Everything grows bigger in these chambers with extra oxygen. And he even said that that's his theory as to why everything was bigger back in the dinosaur days, why we had giants, why mosquitoes were the size of condors, because the oxygen was more pure. And after the flood, the levels of oxygen were a lot lower, and, you know, people lived a lot less years. And that's there's biblical proof of that. Before the flood, people lived 900 some years. After the flood, they stopped living that long. It's because they didn't have as much oxygen. Now, with that being said, like football players in Denver, because they're up in the mountains, the oxygen is low, they have hyperbaric chambers for their players to get in before the games, so they're fully energized and they have an advantage over the other team. These are all facts. Now listen, here's the deal. So if extra oxygen has the effect of making people superhuman and plants growing enormous, what does depriving people oxygen do? It kills us. Whether they could do it slow or they could do it fast. They could do it very fast. They could do it instantly. Have you flopping around like a fish because you're suffocating to death. Now listen. Here's the point that David Icke was making. Right now, I don't even have a 5G phone. Most cities are still not even 5G capable, right? So once, and something he said about Elon Musk is putting tens of thousands of these Starlink satellites or whatever, and it sounds like those are 5G or something. But anyway, if 5G becomes something that all of our phones are using, the difference between how much 5G frequencies are flying and floating around us all the time compared to now, as in comparison to when 5G is being used primarily on every phone all the time, imagine the cell phone tower being over, and with 5G you need a lot more towers because it has a short range. It can't reach that far. That's why they need more and more towers. What a coincidence. So anyway, let's say there's a tower in the middle of your city, right? It's a 5G tower. Everybody using their phone is using that tower. That's a whole bunch of beams that are being shot out from this tower in all different directions directly to the customer. That's a lot of frequency to be shooting through the air, and anything that's in the path of that, it can't be good. You understand? So we're not using much of it now, but what happens when we are using it? When everyone's using it all day, every day, and these beams are just constantly being projected in all different directions all around us. It's going to kill us. It's a slow death. It will kill us. I believe that. Y'all are just so ignorant. And let's not forget your man Donald Trump. He couldn't wait for 5G. He was in such a hurry to get it. Why? To compete with China? Why do we need 5G to compete with China? They're over there, we're over here. What good does 5G do us that our regular signals can't do? What is the difference? Our phones work just fine. My phone's a little slow because I don't have priority service. But a year ago, 2 years ago, my phone was fine. So the thing is, why do the American people need their cell phones to work way faster? Otherwise, China's going to be a problem for us. What does our phones going 5 times faster than they are right now, what does that have to do? How is that a threat to not have that? How does that give China some kind of military advantage over us? It doesn't. Because we're the citizens. Whether our phones go slow or fast, it's not going to put China in an advantage. That doesn't even really make sense. I mean, do you think that makes sense? If China's citizens receive data faster than we do, then we're in deep trouble. It just doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound believable. All right? I don't get it.